to 600 BC, rather than 400 to 800 AD as previously assigned. The remains were buried deep within massive volcanic activity, and the area rendered uninhabitable for a period of 500 to 1,000 years. The pre-600 BC civilization produced a host of spectacular gold pieces, even though we don't have them. That's fascinating. Page 32 of Sorensen. This is the archaeologist Heather Lechtman. They find a lot of bells, forged axe, a hand-forged copper axe has been found, iron smelting furnaces found by this engineer in 2 Ohio mounds demonstrate, he says, that Europeans with knowledge of iron technology lived here anciently. They had a lot of trading, copper bracelets. He says they're similar to those found in the Mediterranean, dating to the 2nd century AD. That's interesting. Over 100 copper objects have been excavated. But just because we excavate doesn't mean we know what it is or what it means. They agree that the limited archaeology done in West Mexico has not likely identified the earliest metal objects. That was on page 37 of Sorensen. Early archaeologists believe that many old copper complex artifacts were cast metal. New studies revealed that show signs of being cast. There is firm evidence of casting, even though we can't find the pieces that they cast. There was lots of mining. Oh, here we go. Here's the source I've been looking for. Hey, see, persistence pays. I couldn't find the answer 10 minutes ago. With your patience, I've got it now. Page 40 of Sorensen. This is Claire Patterson, Native Copper, Silver, and Gold Accessible to Early Metallurgists. This is in American Antiquity for 1971. I'm really sorry about the wind, man. Doggone it. Ores in early times were easier to find than in later pre-Columbian times. Why? The easily accessible deposits were used up progressively. Page 298, he dates Lake Superior copper from 4200 BC. The area probably yielded a ton of copper a year. Now, in South America, metallurgy developed from working gold for ornamentation, not for utilitarian purposes, as was the case in southwestern Asia. Throughout America, the use of all metals seems to have been chiefly ceremonial or decorative. Now that we have carbon-14 dating, it's seen that American metallurgy is a continuation of the late metallurgy of the Asiatic continent. Regarding the origin of Huira, it could have come from Asia. Okay, I got blown away with the wind. It is really windy, so I wanted to be sure that this was clear to understand. So I've come into my camping trailer, and I'll finish off this series on steel in the Book of Mormon here. The Farms Review of Books for its volume 9, number 1 for 1997. Dan Peterson is discussing an anti-Mormon's arguments against metal in the Book of Mormon. He starts with, the question is raised about Nephi's bow of steel. This couldn't have happened because the Jews did not know about steel in Nephi's time. We understand much less than might be guessed about references to steel in the ancient Old World, to say nothing of the far less well-known New World. The terminological difficulties are considerable, and we've seen that in John Sorensen's materials. Nevertheless, recent evidence appears to show that steel was indeed well known in the ancient Near East to such an extent that the Iron Age may be considered a misnomer. It was really the Steel Age. The confidence of critics about the limits of ancient metallurgical knowledge seems highly exaggerated. Archaeology is refuting that confidence. Military historian William J. Hamblin's discussion of Nephi's steel bow has been known since the 1990s. He's a specialist in the Near Ancient East, and he suggests that the steel bow fits rather well into that ancient pattern in both the ancient Near East and in Mesoamerica. There was no iron smelted in the Americas until after the Spanish conquest. This is another critical argument against the idea of smelting in the Book of Mormon. Well, the verb to smelt does not occur in the Book of Mormon in any of its forms, so it's not entirely clear what we are to conclude from this question. Now, it does appear once in early Jaredite history that we seem to find a reference to this process. That's Ether chapter 7, verse 9. Iron was evidently relatively rare in the ancient New World, as the Book of Mormon itself attests, but iron of one origin or another was indisputably present and used in pre-Columbian America. The question of whether or not iron was ever smelted in Mesoamerica is by no means closed. Several tons of worked iron ore has recently been discovered in the Olmec site at San Lorenzo, Tenochtitlan in southern Mexico. That's on pages 75-76 of that Farms Review. Now, another source that I wanted to get to is the Farms updates of the 1990s pressing forward with the Book of Mormon. Two interesting studies. John Sorensen says, this is on page 188 and 189. John Sorensen is concluding, he says, another line of evidence that supports the idea that metal was in use earlier than usually thought is works of art. Human figures drawn on stone or in ceramic show that they are quite surely metal objects. The dates range as early as 300 BC. Even more compelling is linguistic evidence. Based on words that are similar in different Mesoamerican languages, current in recent centuries, linguists have reconstructed what they call proto-languages. These consist of words that apparently were in centuries ago. They were in use. Differences between similar terms in present-day languages, well, this is understandable to linguistic scientists if there was a word in the proto-language from which the present terms descended. But such variations are puzzling if there was not. Linguists can also